Yeah, hi, I'm Johan Lutman. I'm head of R&D, executive vice president of a company called Lundbeck, a Danish headquartered company with global presence. Yeah, so we call it PACAP or various things, but it's a short name still for pituitary adenylate cyclase polypeptide. So it's a long name. And yes, there's a really good question you're asking. What makes it interesting? And first of all, this is a signaling peptide. We sometimes call them neuropeptides. They sit in the nervous system, and they go out actually in particular when it comes to PACAP, together also with another molecule we for short call CGRP. That is also relevant for our conversation because we have migraine drugs out of the CGRP biology. They sit in sensory nervous system in the periphery, in the trigeminal ganglion and other nerve cells, that sensory nerve cells that go out in the periphery. PACAP also sits in the parasympathetic nervous system, that the nervous system that regulates blood pressure and other functions. So it's fundamentally located in pathways that are involved in signaling out and in of the brain, basically. So biologically, it's super interesting. What does PACAP do? We haven't known for so much for a long time, more than that it's quite potent vasodilatator, increasing the diameter of blood vessels. And that's where the interest came in, because CGRP, the other one, calcitonin gene-related peptide, it also regulates the vasodilatation. And way back in the days, there was a hypothesis formed that vasodilatation is involved in the pathophysiology of migraine. Now we can debate this. There are those people that think it's coming from other places, but it does play a role in the pathophysiology at some level. And the good old triptans that we have for migraine treatment also works through a serotonin receptor, but similar vasodilatation. So that's how these things became very interesting to explore in migraine. And CGRP is now a big class on the market. 7 drugs, 6 that came very almost simultaneously, deliver great value for prevention of migraine. But PACAP is now the new biology. Some overlap, but also something new with the parasympathetic aspect also of the nervous system. So here we have more broader biology to play with. GPANs are in the CGRP field. They are small molecules blocking the receptor of CGRP. CGRP is one molecule and one receptor, like this. And good treatment for migraine, as I mentioned. If you want to co-administer a drug like PACAP that sits with one ligand and the 3 receptors, you like to make sure that there is no interaction between the two. Vasodilatation is part of it, etc. So we wanted to make sure that you can give gepant, which is a small molecule, together with this antibody. So we looked at it not only from the perspective of drug-drug interaction as a classical thing we look at. Will they inhibit each other in metabolism or anything like that? That's very unlikely because we're talking a small molecule and an antibody. But we like to see that they are tolerated very well together, because the Japans are out there. They used a lot in migraine. And if you like to use the PACAP together with one of those drugs, maybe as an add-on treatment, you need to know that that's safe and tolerable. And we have good data for that now. We did that study. So it's pretty important phase 1 study. Usually you do a lot of studies at phase 1, but this paves the way to really test this drug in an environment with Japans around. Bocunebart, we took it through a set of studies, not only this recent study with the Japan. We started very classical in phase 1, single ascending dose, multiple ascending dose, and then we took it to a little bit of a mechanistic study. We call it challenge study. We actually gave PACAP to healthy volunteers, and then we gave the antibody to see how we could block that, just to show that the drug works in vivo, but you also trigger a lot of vascular changes with that. So we actually could look at physiology that may relate to pathophysiology by that mechanistic study. So very important little phase 1b study that we did. Then we took it to phase 2 and a phase 2a study in a trial called HOPE. and done exactly the way I like to do a proof of concept trial, because now we looked at symptoms in migraine and had migraine patients. And we took patients that had been prior treated with prevention of migraine drugs. So they had actually failed on 2 to 4 prior prevention of migraine drugs. So we put it to a little test already in that first proof of concept study. And we did the proof of concept study with a very high dose, and then we had a little lower dose. We just hammered the target to see, can this drug work at all? And this is the first time testing out the new mechanism. This is the crown jewel of R&D, right? New mechanism. We dream that it will work, but it's not always the case, right? And we were very happy to see that in this HOPE trial, we got hope that it does work, right? So 20 years earlier, there was CGRP showing that it works, and now we had a new mechanism that looked like it worked. But that wasn't enough. We needed to put more pressure around it before we start phase 3. So we did the PROCEED trial that explored a lot of different doses and different routes of administration and other things. So really to build a very strong, comprehensive view on what we have. We are little secret about the data still, because there is a upcoming conference, American Headache Society meeting in June, where we'll present a little bit more of it. So we're not revealing anything at AN, unfortunately. A lot of people have asked us, but we're waiting for the American Headache Society meeting. And we're also now in the process of building the path to phase 3. So now we're aiming for pivotal trials. So now we're very determined that this will be, hopefully one day, another treatment possibility for people with severe migraines that may not be helped by the current drugs. So the CGRP class, where eptinezumab is part of the class, are very efficacious drugs in many ways, but they far from help everyone. And we're talking about very severe migraines here. Many people have had a migraine or so in their lifetime. You can get it if you drink a little too much red wine that has a lot of tyramine, which is one inducer of a migraine. And then you can have it once a month or a few times a year. Those are not the ones we're primarily aiming for. We're aiming for those that have devastating disease. There are people that have up to 1 migraine a day. And that is a devastating condition. It affects how you can go through school, family life. It's really a quality of life that is very, very different than people without migraine. Normally, people have 12, 14, 15 migraine attacks or headache attacks per month if you're in that box. Eptinezumab, our CGRP drug that we have in this class, is for that type of patient, for what they call episodic and chronic migraine. And chronic migraine, those are the guys that have it maybe 8, 10, 12, maybe 24, maybe even every day per month. So we count often monthly migraine days. Now, unfortunately, the CGRP drugs are not helping everyone. There's huge remaining medical need. And if you consider that it hits much more women than men in a very, very important phase of your life, that can really shape how your entire life will pan out in terms of education and creating a family or whatever. We see that this massive remaining medical need to be addressed. So a new mechanism that hopefully can add to the treatment arsenal we have for prevention of migraine.